monthly show will know that Bill has charged me with telling people about the world of charity, any charities that are based in Mijas or operate in Mijas. And so you might wonder, well, why Michel and why the Euro Weekly News? Well, we'll come on to that in a few minutes' time. But first of all, just a little bit of background, if you don't mind, Michel. Well, first of all, how did you and your husband, Stephen, come to be in Spain?
I think, like a lot of expats, we came to run away from something, and we ran away from our previous relationships to actually start our love affair under the sun. And as I said at the time, it's as easy or as difficult to make a living in the sun as it is in the rain of Rochdale. So I became.
Yeah, so you're actually from Rochdale, which is not that far away from where I'm from, actually, God's own country.
Oh, good people come from the North Island, they just don't realise it yet.
So, why the Costa del Sol in particular?
Well, I'd actually come over to Spain in the 80s to assist with a project that I was working on. And of all places, it was actually in Oaxaca. And in 1982, very few people had actually heard of Oaxaca. And so when I said I was moving away and going to live in this strange place, they all said, "Oh, you mean Mallorca?" I said, "No, Oaxaca." And I was sold the dream, as was a lot of other people, that it was going to be the next Costa del Sol. And it is indeed, I don't know if you've ever been to Oaxaca.
No, I haven't.
It is quaintest of places, and it's got really unusual ley lines, for those of you who've got the little bit spooky in you. And it's got the strangest ley lines, so therefore it attracts very similar people to me as artists, poets, writers.
Ah, okay.
So it's got a strong culture, but obviously in the early 80s there was very few people there, very little infrastructure. So I stayed up there for about 5 years, but it was something I never completed. I'd never finished that journey. So when Stephen and I got together, he said he'd been working in Portugal, and he said, "I want to move away from here. And if you don't know Rochdale, then there's 3 good things that come out of Rochdale: Westfields, Lacey Stansfield, and definitely not Michel Euesden, and the road out of it." So we took the road out of it, thinking, yes, we'll escape from all of our families who were looking on in dismay, being good Catholic families we were, and they all followed us out here, including, at the time, we were the dysfunctional family, because my ex-husband, who's a great guy, came out to join us for the welfare of Benjamin, our son. So the 3 of us worked in the newspaper from about 1998, 99 together.
Right, so you've actually been in the newspaper industry now for 20 years. Yeah?
Actually, we started originally with the Sur in 1996, and then we went to work for the Entertainer in 97, and then unfortunately it was not the place I thought it was, and so we said, okay, we will actually take on this ourselves as a family, and contrary to folklore, we did actually pay everything on that we were due to pay, but we were very much innocents abroad. And in those days, I think it's now dissipated somewhat, but people used to come over and used to buy property and used to buy businesses and used to buy, just doing a deal with the shepherd on a hill. And we didn't get notaries involved or anything, the good old bad old days. So we just made this agreement, which we stuck to, and we honoured.
So did the Euro Weekly News in any form actually exist then, or
No.
did you create it?
No, we created it because obviously the Euro came into being, and so the year prior, I actually said to Stephen, there was going to be a change of demographics, because Spain had traditionally attracted the Brits. Marbella had always been the international place where people came, but perhaps people didn't come to the places where we had strength. And I said, we also had a newspaper in Portugal prior to the recession, so we have one in Mallorca. So our intention was the 6 mainland newspapers, Portugal, then the islands, possibly then Greece to Cyprus and take it wherever, you know, into France. But it was just, once the recession hit, it was time to concentrate on Spain. And I've got to say, Spain was very kind to us. For that, I'll be eternally grateful.
I think a few people might have sort of raised eyebrows when I referred to you as a national newspaper at the top of the programme, but I mean, you are. I think a lot of people think you are only, it's not the right word, of course, but only Costa del Sol based.
That's correct. And we still have that problem. You know, we started to increase our footprint in 1997. Euro Weekly was launched on the 18th of April, and we had 6 newspapers then. But people still see me today, and be it they see me in Valencia or they see me in Mallorca, and they'll still say, I didn't realise you had 6 newspapers. Yes, we do. And I remember we won an award, I think in 2013, from Madrid for the best editorial and strength and strongest newspaper.
Of any English language or Spanish language?
Yes, and we were actually, and I'm correct in saying this, we were voted strongest and the best for what we said on the box, Boardman, and which was quite an honour. And we were in Madrid, and the president of Madrid actually said to us via a translation, because my Spanish is not my strongest point, although I have now all my own, but in those days, and he said, he explained to me, he said, okay, when are you bringing the Euro Weekly to Madrid? And I said, if you notice, wherever we go, we have sand. And I said, so the day you actually have a beach is the day we'll have a Euro Weekly, thinking I was really safe.
Yeah.
He rang me up a couple of years later, and he said, actually, we now have they've actually created this beach area. Like, you know, people have like fake ski slopes on cruises and so on. And he said, so where's my Euro Weekly? I was like, oh, I didn't think you'd want me to it. So, yeah, no, it is a national newspaper because each edition is geared to that location.
Yes.
So when I'm in the Costa del Sol, I am all out for the Costa del Sol. And that doesn't just mean to say business-wise, that is for the community. When I go then to Altea, I am for the people of Costa Blanca. When I go to Majaca, it is the same. And each area has its own strengths. And what I love to do is make those strengths stronger. Sometimes the despair of my husband, who thinks we are actually a business and you not keep doing this. But I have the belief that the stronger our communities, the stronger our infrastructure, and the stronger all the businesses.
Has this always been the way? Has this always been the force for yours and Stephen's philosophy? Or is that developed over the years?
I mean, coming from the north, as you know, I came from a very, very poor family, but a very rich family we had strong family values. And I had to work my way through university because my family didn't have money in those days. You didn't get grants. I was very fortunate to work for some really strong, powerful, dynamic Jewish ladies, and they taught me an ethic that perhaps has taken me through life. But everything was, the family worked together, played together, did everything, but they also looked after their brothers and sisters in the community. And it was a really strong message to get through at an impressionable age. So it was easy when we were in our own town. We knew the people that were struggling.
Yeah, you were really in touch. Yeah.
But when you actually come as a foreigner, you see all these charities. And yeah, I know there's some that don't do what they say on the box. But I will honestly tell you, 90% of people who go into charity, be it dogs, be it health, be it homeless, be it whatever, they've got an enormous heart and they make it their life's passion. So it was only right that as we made money from the community, and you know, we're a free newspaper, but we're a business. So as we made money, our mission was always, and always has been, it's in the minutes of the constitution of the company, that 10% of our gross profit will always be put back into the community. And that's not for us to say on any bullet plates or any social media, conscience or mission statement. We did that in 1997.
Yeah, well, I can tell people watching that I'm well aware of several projects that Michel and Stephen have been involved in and have never seen the light of day. You just got to get on with it, don't you?
I think there's some things as a business you have to market, and therefore, be it you're supporting a cause, whatever, that's a marketable thing. But I think for shall we say, so I don't insult anybody, and I'm not pushing my religious views, but from the carbon bucket, I think okay, that one's for the carbon bucket, that one's for them, that one's for the guys that did me favours when I needed it, and I've been very fortunate in that. You know,
so the thing is that, I mean, in my humble opinion, certainly the Euro Weekly News puts a lot of effort into the community, and also, you know, registered charities and institutions, local pillars of society. And it's all very well to talk about it. It's the old talk the talk and walk the walk, but you actually give column inches, and a lot of column inches every single week, which obviously is costing you money.
Yeah, but I think let's take egos out of this. The Euro Weekly is bigger than Michel and Stephen Euesden, and because of that strength of message, the community is so fortunate that there are people in this business who work during the day, for which they are paid hopefully to their satisfaction, but then they go out in their own time and they work and they help their own community, and those people are all part of that team. And I remember they love when the heifer gets some mental idea, and we've walked the streets, and I remember one of our eldest, bless him, Brian Rand, he worked with us and he was one of our salespeople at 72. And as he deteriorated in health, he got one of these mobility scooters, and my ex-husband, all the team, we all went out with collection buckets for certain cars, which at the time was really needed.
When was this? About?
Probably about 2000 and, it was probably about 2008, 2009, 2010. That kind of, it was when everybody was suffering with the crisis, and there we were, all of us, we got minibuses, we hit Marbella and Boardman, where people were visiting with money, and there was Brian Rand on his mobility scooter leading the way while we shook the buckets and pushed whistles, blew whistles, and it was a hot day, I remember. But the youngest, who were the interns, right the way through, everybody, it was a team effort. So
that really was walking the walk, wasn't it?
we did. I mean, and then another time, the heifer time round, and this was in 2019, and I said, it was the day, if you remember, when we had all Brexit scenario, in the October should have been the last day, and it should have been the day everything ended, which was the 31st of October 2019. And I just thought, how is Ethel and Tom going to feel in the community? All of a sudden, they are no longer part of anything. We are the pioneers going forward because we came being part of Europe, and they were surviving not being part of Europe. I thought, how is it going to affect them? So I just had this wonderful idea, and I said, I tell you what, why don't we just put some drinks on and get people to come because it's Halloween? And it was going to be in the offices and then on the street outside. And we went to the town hall, and the town hall said, I'm really sorry, we're Mercadona, you can't do that. So, not to be deterred, I said, okay, what can we do? So we got a pannier over in Bangarola ferry ground, and the thing is, this pannier held hundreds and hundreds of people. And all of a sudden, this let's do a few drinks suddenly became, okay, what do we need to do it for? And Nikki Burgess, our ops director, said, let me just go and have a look. She went over to the orphanage and she said, really having difficulty. So I said, okay, then let's do it for the orphans, let's do it for the kids. And I'm a great believer in that if you do a charity event, all the expenses are yours. So you're putting that back. I looked at the accounts, could see that we had some money to give to charity. I'm also very fortunate, and I do thank you, because I go out to with my begging bowl to all of the corporate clients, and they say, here she is again. So I hit all of our corporate clients and said, right, okay, this is what we're going to do. We will pay for this. So it went from being a small affair, and I think we can safely say there were over 600 people there. People came with Ferraris, with all kinds of cars, so the kids from the orphanage could actually see them.
Oh, wonderful.
We provided them all with Christmas presents, beds. I'm not really a let's give them a toy kind of person. I'm the kind of person who'll say, right, okay, if you've got kids, how many toilet rolls do you need? How many nappies? I think that's where I tend to come in. So let other people do the nice and the glamour, and I do the back end, and that suits me fine.
There is a parallel, isn't there? There actually that you just hit on. That you business-wise, you've lived through two world crises. One was the crash of 2007, 2008,
Yep.
and of course we're still in the middle of the second one, which is the pandemic. And presumably your business did take some sort of a hit in those two situations.
I've got to be truthful that we have great competition. I mean, your listeners, your viewers are very, very fortunate on Costa del Sol because we have some marvellous free publications, some superb. So whatever your niche, there is a publication to suit your niche. And you think that in the UK, our homeland, that is where it's dying. Free press is dying. On the Costa del Sol, no. You have got a choice, be it magazines, newspapers, great radio stations, TV. We have so many mediums. But in 2007, when the crash started to happen, there was really, the Sur was the strongest. Really sorry about that. It's an emergency calls from my mum. So mum, if you're going to be watching, can you please
We'll ring you back, Mum. We'll ring you back.
As I said, family values are still very strong. So we were very fortunate in 2007, because as I said, I had big influences in my young years at university with the Jewish community, and I worked in newspapers prior, and one of the accountants in the newspaper industry always told me, and it was very, very clear, that what do you do in a recession? You give more of your product, which defies all logics of business. So you're a free product and you actually double. Well, the Sur in 2007 was by far the ultimate newspaper, and in some ways, in different ways, it still is. You know, I don't want to put any hierarchy. I think the listeners, the readers should have freedom of choice, but the Olive Press, the Society magazine, the Sur, the Euro Weekly, I'm not here to push my brand. I think that we are very, very fortunate. So the Sur was the #1 newspaper, but like any business people, what they did is they cut their distribution. So there I am, Giri, pulling in the printers from Valencia, and then thought they knew what it was. And when I tell you this, they're not sexist, but this is a very good story. So they came down and they said, okay, you were used to what do you want to do? And they said, right, this area I want you to double, this area I want you to double, I want you to give me the best prices. And I swear they looked at Stephen and said, we thought we were coming to actually half the print bill, and you're talking about doubling it. I said, no, I'm talking about doubling the numbers. I'm not talking about doubling the cost, because now it goes exponentially. So they watched, were really scratching their head saying, is she really losing prop? To the point where they rang my financial director and said, we really need to tell you that, you know, your boss is like saying this. But that's Spain, and that's the culture of Spain that we came over here to love. I said, I know what I'm doing. And that was the turning point. All of a sudden, we wallpapered everywhere. If you were anywhere, you could pick up a Euro Weekly. Then the strength became, we could get the message over. And there were so many sad cases in 2007, 2008, 2009. Every charity was starving.
Yeah.
And for me, that was our businesses that could survive, we were doing deals with.
And of course, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
but of course that meant that you're increasing your publication list.
That's right.
Actually meant good news for the charities.
Most definitely.
Because you were still giving charities free space. He was still promoting what they were doing. So the fact that your circulation doubled meant that their exposure was doubled.
Well, I had one young guy, Thomas Leadfield. I don't know if you know Thomas. Jenny.
Not Jenny. Yeah.
Jenny, but Jenny was actually, I think at the time, editor or assistant editor, and Thomas, was a friend of hers. She's actually on the board now. And Thomas had so many problems, and his family are just wonderful. But obviously, a special child has special needs, and we were in a position. We knew the family, we knew the moral compass was right, we knew the future was right for Thomas, and each month as we got stronger, they got stronger. So it changed his life, and that's not Michel Euesden. That is Euro Weekly and that team.
And the power of the brand.
The power of the brand. Yeah. We did lots of things like that. Some, as I say, were great marketing tools for the charity and for ourselves. Others were purely for ourselves, for us to realise there is more to life than just taking, to see that growth.
You've just preempted another question I was going to ask you, actually, is that you talked about someone's moral compass, and so when you're thinking about choosing charities to promote or to support, whichever way you want to look at it, how do you go about choosing?
Well,
because there are so many charities out there, aren't there?
There's a level where you say, okay, I'm quite happy, it's accepted throughout the community and we donate that. And I think, okay, if it's for an animal charity, we might say if they're actually getting pedigree from, or if they're getting LD's best. As long as the dog is looked after. I do go to visit the sites. I don't go as Michel Euesden. Unfortunately, the claws give it away, but even that, I'm on the bike, so you can't see, but I do check it out. But I'm a businesswoman ultimately, and figures talk to me, accounts talk to me. So if it's a big investment, or I think the community is putting a big investment in, because it's the community's money, and this is where I always want charities to understand, it's not their money, it's the community's money. Then I always ask to look at the accounts. I meet with resistance on that, but I'm not like Mike because I'm nice all the time, and I do tend to get my own way. If I see anomalies, then I make it, so let's say it's your charity, then I would say, look Alan, these wages are not acceptable, the community is paying for these wages and they're not the norm, these expenses are not the norm, shall we take a review on it? It's not in my interest to publicise a bad set of accounts for a charity, because all that will do is all of our community will suck back. And I need to stress that on any occasion I've had to do that, the charities have taken note. Even if I've had to use the power of the pen by the mere fact they're not in the paper, tells you it all. And they have got their acts together. Sometimes it's just genuine. It is a genuine not understanding. They started off with charity and it's now become bigger than them.
Yeah.
And we've been for them. Other times I've had smash and grab people here, and I'm very quick to point that out. They don't want the bad publicity. I don't want it for the community, but if I have to use it, I will use it. And that's what worked for us. It has.
What do you think is the effectiveness of column inches for a charity in, for example, Euro Weekly News? Have you got a way of measuring that? Do you get feedback from the charities? How important is it?
It is important. It is important because we've got a lot of people out there who are confused. They look on Facebook, and I'm not decrying Facebook before I end up being a victim of rhetoric abuse tonight. It's a great social media platform, but it doesn't tell you everything. And the power of the newspaper is still very, very strong. People believe the written word. So if Nikki has actually put in, or Jose and Marcus, they've all put in something about, I then know, because when I go to a next meeting, then people will be saying, I just want to ask you, we'll take Simply Surviving. Val Williams and Boardman, they don't mean anything to anybody. Yes, in Mijas, Val because of Fuengirola, but Nisota Grande, they don't know yet. All of a sudden, they're getting that name constantly, they're getting that name. And then, like anything, they go for, today we always go for reassurances. You know, we're a reassurance buying society. So if you think about buying a car, you're going to look on the website, you're going to look on the forum, blah, blah. It's the same with people who've got money to invest in a charity. And all of a sudden, they're seeing Alan and Val, the name, is every week. So it always ends up, and you'll be in a meeting, and then they'll say, can you just, Michelle, explain who they are?
Yeah.
And that's good,
Yeah.
because although you're not benefiting, the people that you are putting the money to, I mean, one of the best examples is when we went to feed the community. And Cara, and please, Cara, if you're watching, this is with total respect. For those of
We're
you,
talking here about the food fairies, or the Spanish name is Hadas Caradas.
an amazing family, an amazing charity. And I think, like everybody, I'm influenced by looks. I knew Cara from when she was in the boardwork, and she's everything a woman should be, and more. And then she is drop dead gorgeous, and quite a rebel with her tattoos, very, very, very strong in her appearance, and very stunning. But even though I'm the first one to say for women empowerment, you know, you tend to think of women like that as being vapid, and she isn't. She's far from it. We went into lockdown on the 14th of March, yeah, 2020.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, this dark-haired beauty arrived in my office like a bombshell and said, I need papers. We just had these files. And I said, whoa. You need papers for watching. You're the Euro Weekly. You find out how we can do this legally. And she said, there's Mark from the Harbour, playwright, her sister Penny. By then, she'd had quite a few people joining without any publicity. So I actually called our lawyer, and he went straight to the top of the National Police. The Police National said, look, we're on lockdown, you shouldn't be out. Cara was stuck in my office going, and there's people hungry, and there's babies that need feeding, and there's nappies to be changed.
If you don't know, by the way, the food fairies actually distribute food parcels along the Costa del Sol to families who can't feed themselves. And we're not largely talking about people who are on the streets. We're largely talking about people who live in ordinary homes like we do, and have families, children to feed, but literally, because of the circumstances with COVID, just cannot do that. And largely, as you say, I mean, we really kind of happened at Simply Surviving on the food fairies, and we've learned so much about the work that they do. And the thing is as well that Val Williams and I have been supporting local charities now for only about 6 months, but each charity that we team up with, we learn so much about the work that they do, and I can promise you it's like the proverbial swan, isn't it? Whatever you see going on above the surface, there's 90%, furious paddling going on with that nobody knows about. It's quite inspiring, really.
Well, going back to Cara, the police were stopping us all, as you know, and they didn't have any papers. And our lawyer actually said, and fair play to Sebastian, he said, hold on a minute, he said, I will defend this in any court in the land. He said, free of charge. So we got the papers for them to drive around legally, because obviously the businesses were closed. And there is the old saying, we're all one paycheck away from being homeless. COVID brought that paycheck stopped. We all had that potential. And I don't know about you guys, I did every night thank whoever I was thanking for the roof over my head, for not having COVID. But Cara didn't just thank. She got up, she begged, she stole, she borrowed, she did everything. And I remember one night, Nikki and a few of us had said, okay, you're feeding the community, we'll feed you. And it came to about 2 o'clock. She got a phone call. A family had not received his money, not received his check. His wife had given birth. They had no nappies.
There you go.
And she was in Mijas, stopped what she was doing, got in a car, drove to Estepona, along the way ringing up contacts, including people we knew at Iceland, etc. We collected the nappies along the journey, and she delivered them. That's what I mean about walking the walk. And Cara, for me, is the epitome of that, because I actually saw it happen. We were there. And there's so many amazing people like that up and down the coast. You know, in every area, people just took on the mantle.
I think you'd
Colin
agree.
Mijas are nothing to what they do, is it? Really? Let's be fair.
I think you'd agree that along the Costa del Sol, this sense of community really does come out when people need it. I know that Simply Surviving, which we put on an event, which we put 3 or 4 events on a month for a nominated charity, then people really do get behind it and support, to the extent that usually we sell out, 2 or 3 weeks before the event and have to say, no, I'm sorry, you'll have to wait for next time. And it's just really so heartwarming. It's great to see it.
It's not because I live here, although I am perhaps biased because I do live majority of my time in the Costa del Sol at this moment. But I remember when Joan Hunt, bless her, actually asked Morris and said, we've got the hospice, we haven't got a roof on it. And Morris Bourne at the time said, right, okay, we're the press, we're going to have to do it. And in those days, the press worked together a little better, I think. And he said, whatever it takes, Michelle, we're putting a roof on there for Christmas. Like me, okay, then we'll do it. How are we going to do it? I didn't know. But we started the raising the roof. And obviously Morris had the contact. But it was a very profitable year for the businesses, and the businesses now actually that were there then don't exist today. But everybody came out. I mean, it was a night where everybody came out for. And I remember John being at the end of the table, and we'd said that we'd try and raise 20,000, the equivalent of 20,000 euros, because obviously we were still in pesetas at the time. And one auction alone that night raised that. We were very fortunate that some of the people had come over from Ireland and they were putting money in. And I'll never forget Dawn Hunt's face. There was just a tear, because she was a very dignified lady. There was one tear just coming down here. And the more Morris did, the hungrier it became. But it wasn't Morris Ball and Roadshaw, it was the Costa del Sol community. And I think that's when I learned it doesn't matter what it is, be it animals, cancer, treatment, mental health issues, the homeless, we have no fear. We will, if we believe in it and it's publicised right and handled right, we will achieve what we say we're going to do. That's a great community.
Well, it's a fabulous philosophy for a business to have. And I do know, by the way, that it's not just you and Stephen who get involved in these things, but there is a crazy Zipline challenge which is coming up in the middle of September. All organised by and in aid of Age Concern, fantastic charity here on the Costa del Sol. And I believe 3 of your staff, including the Ops Director, Nikki, they're actually taking part in it.
Well, they did that, I think Stephen did it. Obviously, because of issues that we don't need to emphasise, I wasn't able to, although I was the first one up. I actually was the first one saying, yeah, we'll do it. And I got barred from doing it.
This was what, about 5-6 years ago?
Yeah, it must be. Stephen, Nikki, Alison, Benjamin, Esteban, they all went down and said, it's absolutely terrifying, you're not listening to this, but it's absolutely the most exhilarating experience.
Yeah, I should explain, I'm doing it as well, and so is Val.
Val
Williams is doing it as well, at the age of 82. Come on.
She's not 82. We don't get to 82. We get to a certain age and then it's just, we're very bit more charming than we were the year before.
I knew I should have rehearsed this interview.
But Val, just fair play. There is no limit on what she will do.
She's amazing.
But they obviously Stephen's not able to do it this year, and I'm bad. I think they just think that I'm going to like break a nail. Really, I think that's what it's about. But yeah, all the team are doing it. They've said, okay, sign us in for it. I will say, the Spanish are a bit cowardly. They're not up for it. But it's not over yet. It's not
Bill,
over.
can we edit that, please?
Hey, I'm my Spanish team.
I don't think we can edit that one out, Alan, no.
They're looking at those wires going, not a chance.
Well, look, time has beaten us, and I knew that it would. But
I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I not going to be stuttering.
It's probably the easiest interview I've ever done. So listen, I just want to say thank you for allowing us to broadcast from your headquarters. That's great, and thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for supporting the charities along, not just across the Velsol, but the other areas that you publish in as well. If we could give a round of applause, I would like to my guest tonight, Michel Euesden. Michel, thank you.
No, honestly, it's the community. Shall we applaud the community
Yeah,
that we live in? Yes, because our community, you make it happen.
Now, just to say, just a little note about the Simply Surviving group that Michel mentioned there, because we do have nominated charities for the rest of the year, and the aforementioned Age Concern will be the nominated charity for the middle of September to the middle of October. And then from the middle of October to the middle of November, there is a smaller charity called Search, SEARC, which is a charity in the wilds of Queen, and she rescues and rehomes horses, either abandoned or maltreated horses. And then from the middle of November to the middle of December, we are supporting Age Care. So those are the three charities. And if you don't know anything about Simply Surviving, if you turned on to watch Michel, and I don't blame you, you can go to the Facebook page Simply Surviving Group and join the 770 people that have done exactly that. And you get all the details of the Simply Surviving Group events in support of local charities. By the way, if you either run a charity which is based in Mijas, or you operate in the municipality of Mijas, then please drop me a line if you would like to come on the programme, or if you have a charitable event taking place between the middle of September and the middle of October, because if Bill allows me, I'll be back with another programme in the third week of September. So that's all for this edition. Thank you very much for watching. Keep cool, and we'll see you around. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan. And Michel, thank you so much for joining us this evening and for the enormous support that you've been giving to the world of charity, especially over these last, I don't know, 6-12 months, when, you know, charities have become really so important for the life of the community. And yeah, social media is great, but not everybody has social media. And I think that the more that we can get these things out, the better. And I know that what you and Steve and your team at Euroweekly have been doing to support charities has been very, very much appreciated. Thank you so much, Michel. Thank you, Alan. And yeah, we'll see you back in September, Alan.
Thank you.
Is that before your Zipline challenge or afterwards?
It's just after.
Right.
No, it might be just around the same day. The Zipline is the 24th of September.
Right.
So it's going to be around about that time. So it might be an interesting show, or of course there might not be one.
I would just go for a quick heart checkup before you launch out on it, Alan. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. If you find this interesting, helpful, please subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything, but it does mean that you will get notification when the next live stream is coming out. Thank you, Michel. Thank you, Alan. And well, it's almost a weekend, so have a great weekend when it comes.
You too.
Thank you. You too. Regards to Vicky.
Will do. Good night now.